Good morning, guys. Today, inshallah, we're going to continue lesson 2 of chapter 4. Okay, we keep talking about the asexual reproduction. And as we said last time, asexual reproduction is the process in which it will one parent, in which it will pass all its DNA to the offspring. So in this case, the offspring or the new individuals will be exact copy from the parent, which is completely the opposite of sexual reproduction. So here we said there's no genetic variation, and all offspring that are produced from asexual reproduction, they are identically the same. And we said that maybe disadvantage or not good because once the environmental conditions change, so that it decrease their chance of surviving because as they are identical, so we don't have this variety that could fit with the new environmental conditions. Then we said that this kind or the asexual reproduction mainly depend on mitosis because here we need just a regular division that could produce identical cells, and this kind of division is mitosis. So while meiosis is a special type for sexual reproduction only. So we said that in prokaryotic cells or unicellular prokaryotic cells, because they are prokaryotes, they don't have nucleus, so they can't go through mitosis because actually there is no nucleus, and we know that mitosis is the division of nucleus. So they have a special type of division we call it fission, which is simply is a simpler division or simple division, which is somehow simpler than mitosis. But we still have other ways that unicellular or eukaryotic unicellular or multicellular organs that could perform to make asexual reproduction. The first type here they could have, which is budding. So we say that budding is one of the ways in which some unicellular or multicellular eukaryotic organisms they able to make asexual reproduction. What is budding? Budding actually it's a side growth, or it means a division that's happening in a part of living organism that cause a growing of new organism on the parent body, then it separates to a new individual. So simply here to clarify the idea, we're gonna show that for you. So we said, for example, we have a living organism called hydra. It's aquatic living organism. It's too small, okay? Sometimes microscopic can't be seen with naked eye, but still multicellular organism made of many cells. So hydra actually doesn't move, it stick to the ocean floor, and we said that hydra is one of the nidarians. It has sticking cells that could capture prey like jellyfish. So what happens, hydra once start asexually, we are gonna find that the parent here start to get a growth inside here. So which means the cells in that part they keep dividing by mitosis and they start to form this bud. We call this bud. Okay, so a group of new cells that they are just growing on the side of the parent. Then after a while, we're gonna find that this group start to increase in size. Okay, to be like that. Okay, then so later this bud will cut separate, okay, and will be a new small individual which exactly the same like the parent. So we call this technique budding. Okay, so budding here it's type of asexual reproduction that depend on mitosis and will produce new individual which exactly like the parent or the original one. So here now that second technique in which you asexual reproduction. So the first one is fission, and that just happen in prokaryotes. Then in eukaryotes we have first thing budding. Second way or second technique that we have, we called it the regeneration. And what is regeneration? Regeneration is the ability of some animals, not all living organisms, just some kind, some animals, they are able to make the regeneration, which means once a part of the parent cut, okay, it could grow into a new offspring or grow into a new individual, which means it's kind of reproduction. So for example, this planaria, that's kind of a worm called planaria. It's a parasite that could cause disease to human. So this worm, once it cut into two half from the middle exactly, okay, so as we can see here from that point, okay, so each part will grow to a new worm or to grow to a new complete worm. That means each part will compensate or will complete the missed part to be a complete worm, as we can see here, guys. Okay, so but here it doesn't mean any cut could do that. It just must cut at this region or this point exactly. So if it cut it, okay, before or after, this will not grow because we need, or this cut must happen regarding to some types of cells. Once these cells are found, that will define and produce or complete the lost part and will be a new individual. That's the same what happened in the sea star. We know the sea star have these 5 arms, and actually in the middle they have part we call central disc. So if one of the arms is cut alone, it will not grow to a new individual. But if the arm is cut and include a part of the central disc, it will grow to a new sea star. So here like this, then the third way of asexual reproduction, we call it regeneration. Okay, fourth one, which is vegetative reproduction or vegetation. Okay, so vegetative reproduction, guys, it's the same like generation but in plants. So vegetative reproduction, it's kind of asexual reproduction that happen in plant in which a part or vegetative part of a plant that could grow into a new plant without involving of seeds or whatever anything of the sexual reproduction that could happen in plant. What does it mean? It means we here could use a vegetative part, that means a part fruit, a part of stem, or even leaves, which is just an ordinary part that are not involved in the process of sexual reproduction of plants. So, for example, like potato actually is a stem. If you cut a piece of potato that contain a potato eye and you just put it in soil, it will grow to a new potatoes, okay, new potatoes plants, which means here it's asexual reproduction. Some other plants, sometimes when leaves they fall down into the ground, the leaves could grow into a new plants and so on. So like here we call this a vegetative reproduction. Okay, so vegetative reproduction involves structure of roots, stem, and leaves. We don't care about here flower or seeds because they are related to the sexual reproduction in plants. So like this, we have four techniques that asexual reproduction could happen naturally in nature, which are fission for prokaryotes, budding, regeneration, and vegetative reproduction for eukaryotes, whatever plants or animal. So here we have the last thing, which is cloning, but actually cloning is not a natural process of asexual reproduction. It's artificial one. That means it's done inside labs by scientists. That means no living organism could perform cloning alone in nature. That's a technique scientists already they discovered or they start to improve this technique in labs to ensure that they make exact copy of some multicellular living organism. So how this happen or how this way could work? Okay, so here we said that the idea that we have two living organisms, that we have a sheep X and sheep Z. Okay, so X as a male sheep, a male sheep, for example, it could be female, whatever. We don't care about genders here because it's not sexual reproduction. So the sex is not that important. But we have sheep X, we get a body cell, just a body cell, normal body cell, which is diploid, contain the full number of chromosomes. Okay, this cell comes from intestine or whatever, any part from the sheep. Okay, and we get a sex cell, that means egg cell from the female one. Okay, so this one must be female because we're gonna get egg cell. This egg cell contains half the DNA, but we are gonna remove its nucleus, so it will be empty cell. That means, as you can see here, we remove the DNA out. Then what we are gonna do, we are gonna fuse the cells. That means we are gonna put this body cell inside the female egg cell, which is now empty. Okay, so like this, we are gonna just have the DNA of that sheep X included or enveloped inside the membrane of the cell of sheep Z. Then we are gonna put this cell we incubate it or put it in a solution which have some nutrients and put in certain conditions until it keep dividing. Once it divide and they produce a pool of cell, we're gonna just get the cells back into the sheep uterus. We implement it inside the female uterus, and like that the female become pregnant and will have, okay, a baby later. This baby exactly like sheep X, the same. Why? Because all the DNA that this small sheep get from one parent only. Okay, so that's kind of artificial asexual reproduction, and the actual cloning is already done on animals. Okay, and it succeeded for a lot of animals. Okay, so people who are asking this cloning could happen to human or not, actually it may happen, but actually all the laws, ethics, and whatever, okay, so they religions, they prevent doing something like this for humans. So it's forbidden all over the world to make like this experiment on human. So here we said that also here we can have a type of asexual reproduction that also depend on the idea or using stem cells. We call the tissue culture. So in some plants, we're gonna get some stem cells and allow the stem cells to grow in solutions, okay, or we put it in a petri dish that contain a nutrient agar that provide nutrients for this cell, so the cells will grow and divide. So once this cells grow and divide, as we know, the stem cells are not specialized yet, so we could get them and we start to put it, or we start to put in soil, they will grow later or they will differentiate into different plants and get a new plant which exactly copy like the original one. So here like this, guys, that the different types of asexual reproduction that could happen in different living organisms. And as we said here, we know this. We ask here, what are the disadvantages of asexual reproduction? We said that there is no genetic variation, and we explained that before. But now we are gonna ask about that advantage. We said that the advantage of asexual reproduction that it doesn't require that long time and energy. It could happen fast and saving a lot of energy. So it considered as a good point for some living organisms that in short time they could increase their number too much and they have a lot of individuals. So they could survive in some conditions, and that considered the advantage of asexual reproduction. At this point, we end our lesson, guys. Okay, please study very well. And if you have any question, I'm waiting for it. Thank you. Thank you. Goodbye.